Okay, good evening everybody, and welcome to Sandwich Town Council and Finance and General Purposes Committee today, Wednesday the 16th of July, and thank you for coming. Just before we take apologies for absences received, I'd just like to say that many of you may have noticed that tonight we've not got too many reports for and accounts for approval. We've only got a couple of payment schedules and not the bank reconciliation nor the overall accounts. We've had a meeting with the interim RFO, and obviously the interim RFO has been here now for a few weeks and has kind of bedded in after his short handover with Karen before she left, and he's undergone the training that he needs, and there's been some queries raised to him, and as he's been working on it in earnest now, not just being shown how things work, he's obviously applied his kind of cold eyes review, and he's noticed that there's some configuration issues with the system and the accounts. So we understand where the work needed to be done is. It's just a question of getting on with that work, and he's going to get on with that work. The system is interrelated, so the bank reconciliation statements feed into the accounts and the payment schedules, so there's a big loop. That will all be resolved by the end of August, and we will be back to having all of the usual documents in terms of the bank reconciliation statements and the accounts by that time. So please just bear with us. There's nothing untoward wrong. It's just one of these system configuration issues. So thanks for that. Item 1, apologies for absences received. Do we have any apologies to have?
Thank you, Chair. Yes. Councillor D. Carter has a work commitment, Councillor P. Carter has a work commitment, and Councillor D. Marie has a work commitment.
Okay, I understand. Thank you. Declarations of interest. To receive any declarations of disclosable pecuniary interest from members in respect of the business to be transacted on the agenda. Does anybody have anything they wish to declare?
No.
Thank you.
Okay.
So we move on to item 3, which is the minutes of the Finance and General Purposes Committee meeting held on the 18th of June, which are attached. Do we want to take these page by page? Any comments? Any comments on any of the pages? No? Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Anybody?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Councillor Black. So can we have a show? So that's unanimously approved. Thank you very much. So the next item is for public participation. Town Clerk, have we received any requests?
No request, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. So let's move on to the payment schedules. Now, these weren't necessarily attached with the minutes when they were issued, or the agenda when it was issued, but we've got 3. The first one is a payment schedule for Sandwich Town Council up to the end of June, amounting to £5,457. Does anybody have any queries or questions about that? Okay. The second one is the payment schedule to mid-July, amounting to £8,279.48. Does anybody have any queries or questions on that one? Thank you. And the third one is the payroll to mid-July, amounting to £20,618.88. Again, does anybody have any queries on that? Okay. So could we have somebody to propose acceptance? Councillor Black, thank you. Seconded, Councillor Chuka. All those in favour, please show. So again, that's unanimous. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the priorities, terms of reference status and the action log. And we've got attachment 3. And this attachment is pretty much exactly the same as last time, except there's a couple of little typos that were corrected following those being brought to our attention. Does anybody have any comments on the priorities?
Number 18, the small piece of land next to Fellowship Walk, has there been any progress on that?
No, sorry, Councillor Wells, no, nothing.
Councillor Black, did you have something? All right, well, I'm very concerned about health and safety. It's always kind of a top priority for me that the people who work for us here in the Guildhall, our officers and our visitors to the Guildhall are safe and secure. And we've had this item number 2 high priority on the agenda for some time. So I took it upon myself to send the town clerk and a copy to the mayor, just some quick questions about emergency readiness. When was the last fire evacuation actually taking place? Electrical safety. When was the last PAT or electrical equipment done? First aid. Who are the first aiders? Are their training up to date? Chemical safety. What about the chemicals we store on site? Are they all safe? And what about the accident register? When was the last accident? I thought I would table this at this meeting to hand over to the town clerk, but I sent it in advance, and I was very pleased to get a response in the same day, which responded in full to the questions I raised. So with your permission, I'd like that response to be attached to the minutes of this meeting, because I think it's important for us as councillors to do checks. And, it's not just kind of lip service and talk. We actually need to do things. So thanks to the town clerk and to the property manager who responded so quickly on that. Okay, the next item on the agenda then is the devolution, reorganisation and transfer of assets. And we have on the agenda, within the agenda papers, attachment 4, which attempted to copy the discussion of last month's meeting, in which we were expressing interest, either priority or secondary interest, in some of the assets that would become available from Dover District Council as part of the local government reorganisation. Has anybody got any comments on this?
So I can give an update of what's been happening since the last meeting, but also in terms of the table, and I did make you aware, because I went back to the recording and listened to it again. We actually put the car parks into a top priority group. So I have written a detailed paper for extraordinary STC on 28th July, but I've revised the table to show them in the top group. Now, obviously, that meeting will determine the outcome in any case. So I'm just making you aware of that. So that's one thing. In terms of what's happened, myself and the town clerk did meet with Kenyon Mills after the last Finance and General Purposes Committee meeting. Positive meeting, but no promises of anything other than what we probably already knew. But we have got a further meeting now on the 31st of July, hopefully with some of the officers as well from DDC, and you're coming along as chairs of this committee, with myself, the property manager and the town clerk. and then we'll take forward the report that's discussed at the STC meeting as our baseline for the conversation. But I know this morning Councillor Anderson and Councillor Black joined the meeting. There were no surprises to me, but also I think what it gave me was the assurance that we're getting on with as much as New Romney are doing, because I felt that a lot of others probably haven't really paid enough attention to the issue. I didn't get that sense from the questions that were asked. It would be really good to hear from you, because I had engaged with New Romney before the meeting a few weeks back, and what I've been doing has been springboarded off of what they've already done. So.
Yeah. Yes, I was particularly interested in two things. First of all, New Romney seemed confident that they will have transferred to them the car parks, which are revenue raising, and then Emmett spoke and said that he thought that Dover District Council was giving off rather different views. It's clear that different district councils are handling this in completely different ways. I still think that we should, and I'm pleased to hear that the car parks have gone back into top priority, because I've always felt that this whole process is an opportunity for us to take control of what happens in our town. And obviously car parking is a core part of what drives this town and strategies about car parking. That was the first thing that I sort of took note of. And the second point was, I'm still not clear, and I could have asked a question but I didn't, as to whether any of these assets will be transferred at a price, whether we will have to pay something to acquire some of them. And I've no idea. And was that answered? Was that because I left the meeting early, and I'm not sure whether anybody asked that question.
So I have joined a number of meetings, including Ashford.
Yes.
We went to Calc extraordinary general meeting. It's very clear that you're right. Each district council is approaching things differently. If, for example, you want to take an asset that is like a building, or even a plot of land, it has got an intrinsic value in the future in the sense it could be developed. So it's very probable that the district council will say, you can take this, but this is the cost. And that may not be market value, it might be less, but we would expect, from what I've been hearing and has been said elsewhere, things will come with a price tag, probably.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Black.
Yes, following on what the two colleagues have said, I did ask the specific question, is there any way to require a district council to hand over assets which are revenue generating? And the answer came back, no. I wasn't surprised at the Folkestone and Heights seem to be fairly generous in giving these to New Romney because they are revenue earners, but whether they know something about the debt that will be incurred by the 3 or 4 unitary authorities remains to be seen. But it's very clear that Dover is hanging on to every single halfpenny it can. And of course the danger is that if they get some things which don't have an income stream, is they will then sell it on the open market for a developer. And that is a huge thing that, as a council, we really have to be wide aware of. And I'm thinking in particular of some of the play areas, such as the ones further outside of town. Polder's play area, for example, would be a superb development opportunity for Dover District to flog it off, because it's right in the middle of some houses. It would be, and it's got access.
But what would, sorry, can I just,
Yeah.
I mean, I can't actually see what's in the interest of Dover District Council to make a lot of money, because Dover District Council isn't going to exist. I mean, this money will just go northwards, as it were, to the unitary authority.
Oh, it will do, but I suspect the unitary authority will be trying to get money from every constituent part to pay things, because at the moment, the unitary authority does not exist. It'll be composed of either 3 or 4 districts coming together, and the unitary authority will then have its hands on assets, and it may well be in their political interest, possibly be able to say, look what we can do to address your debt. Who knows what the thought pattern is?
Yeah, Councillor Pennington.
Thank you. Yes, I raised the issue before of what is the mandate of Dover District Council, which will cease to exist in 2 or 3 years' time, to reach agreements of this kind, because their assets and liabilities will be taken over by a new unitary authority whose exact shape we don't know of and still doesn't exist. So in a sense, it's like negotiating with a ghost. We don't know if whatever they say is going to be the case in 3 years' time. We don't know what if they will be able to keep the assets or if everything will be up for grabs again in 2 or 3 years' time. And the whole thing is so badly managed, I find it just appalling.
Have you got anything you wanted to say?
I mean, if you think back to 1974, when Sandwich Borough Council was abolished, its assets were effectively expropriated by EDC. I'm not aware that any compensation was paid.
No.
So this is that process in reverse to some extent.
Yeah.
So surely EDC ceases to exist. They have no dog in the fight, if you like. So it's only the unitary authority that will have an interest in either retaining assets or selling them at the market value or a discounted value. Or
Okay, understood.
So the point is, the assets that we're looking at are DDC owns today. So it doesn't really matter whether they are the absence of any direct guidance and rules in terms of how to play the game doesn't mean that we shouldn't engage with them. That's what we're trying to do on a positive basis. Because for now, if they agree to any assets being transferred, they have to prove the value of doing that. So it's not just a simple, yes, you can have this. They have to prove as part of the reorganisation that they're doing it for the community interests, that there is a value attached that's sensible. All of that they need to do. But in the absence of unitary council, they are the only people we can deal with. Yeah. But they do have skin in the game because they will all move into the unitary council. So they will want to protect their turf as best they can because it will form part of a bigger whole. Well, whole is the right word, rather than WH, because there's debt all across the piece. And anything that they do to make that debt worse will not be for their benefit.
Yeah, all right, thank you, Councillor Black.
Yes, I think they do have an interest in the sense that a number of them, who are at leader level and so on, will be interested in continuing their political careers. But if they can bring some nice moolah with them, well, good. And let's make some nice things for future things. I know this is cynical, but I'm afraid that's politics today.
Okay, just kind of comment from me. It's obviously it's a novel situation for this council that are facing, and as you say, trying to negotiate with a ghost, and obviously there's some work in hand. I'm very conscious that we're kind of coming up to the summer kind of recess period, and there's a deadline at the end of November, and I think we as a council, obviously, by even the simple table as to which interests we're in, which assets we're interested in, are starting to get our house in order. And yes, we will be up against these people who are trying to protect their jobs, etc., as they move forward. But the question I want to ask is that, are we best organised to be able to work in a fast, fluid and flexible way over the summer recess and into September and October? And I hate to suggest, but do we need to have a more empowered working committee working group to address this, because at the moment it's falling on the mayor and the town clerk and property manager, and I feel I'm getting pulled into it type of thing. But I think it would be useful if the council were to explore this at the extraordinary general meeting, that we are best organised to be able to react.
To some extent, I think we have to get the feedback from when we meet with DDC on the 31st. So I think that's a real enabler or a disabler in terms of what we do next. I think it's worth having that conversation in the STC meeting. I prefer that it stays with the committee, Finance and General Purposes Committee for now, until we know what it is we need to do. So we can call a committee meeting fairly quickly afterwards, because you'll be there as well. You'll know what we'll need to do beyond that conversation. But for me, the next stage, actually, where we highlight areas that we want to investigate, they've got to come to us with data. So there will be a short period, because we can't make any decisions without understanding costs, income, hopefully, and any other aspects of any asset. So, for example, any asset that's offered up, has it got a covenant? Has it got an overage? So there's a whole host of things.
Condition surveys and all of these.
They're the only thing that can only be delivered to us. We can't do that against a DDC asset at the moment.
Okay, there's was.
But I think in the absence of any clarity, it is definitely worth saying we're interested in assets such as the car parks, which could give us greater control over the shopping offer and etc. And give us income as well.
Yeah.
Because if we don't express interest, there's a danger that it's gone forever.
No, my concern is that we could be overwhelmed with data.
Yeah.
With Dover sending down one of their lorries with a load of documentation, and these are the types of things, or they have a data room and you can go into the data room, and who's going to do it, how are we going to be organised, and that's my concern. Whilst we're pushing them, they can suddenly kind of kick back to us. And okay, so sorry,
this is a question wearing the hat of a Jubilee Centre trustee, and I don't know if that's legitimate. You can stop me if you want to, but the Jubilee Centre trustees have in mind that we could produce for the Town Council a breakdown of the finances as they currently are, and what it costs, what our income is, and so on. And I don't know whether that would be, and also some stuff about the history of the Jubilee Centre, which was, I think Councillor Wilde said, it was owned by Sandwich Borough Council. It's been it now turns out possibly temporary ownership of BBC. Would that be a useful thing to do for the July 28th meeting?
I'm not so sure that it would actually, personally, because I think we could go to a whole raft of groups like the cricket club and the football club as to what's the running costs of the pavilions and so forth. So, and I think to keep this solely as understand your involvement in the Jubilee Centre, and we did have our kind of declaration of interest at the beginning and so forth. So I would prefer it's just another asset at the moment. I don't think there's any benefit in getting that information until we see what they've got to offer on all of these assets.
And I would say that there is an opportunity for the trustees of the Jubilee Centre to think about whether it's an opportunity they might not pursue themselves directly with the Dover District Council.
We have talked about that and have come to a decision.
Okay.
I think we've been made privy to what that is. Oh, you haven't? Okay.
So maybe afterwards. Yeah.
Okay.
Helpful to know.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Or in summary, then, what we're basically saying is that there's the paper going to go to the council a week on Monday.
Yeah.
advising them of the current status. We might just include the question as to how are we best organised over the summer period. Then a meeting is going to be held at the end of the month, after which hopefully there will be a bit more clarity and information to be able to potentially call further meetings either of this committee or of the town council. Okay. So the next, are we all done on that? Are we happy with that discussion? No need for any vote or anything?
No,
there?
that's absolutely fine.
The next item on the agenda is item 8, which is to do with the registration, the charity incorporation of the Maddox document, Maddox, and a letter from Harris Allday. Town Clerk, do you want to speak to this?
Yes, happy to do that. Thank you. This is just to share the updates for the procurement of the advice to progress the establishment of the CIO for the Maddox Fund. We also have an update from F&GP Harris Allday for the Georgina Maddox Fund portfolio. Following the debate at full council on the 2nd of June and the subsequent meeting of the Maddox Charity Management Committee on the 30th of June, it was agreed that further opinion should be sought for the draft CIO registration document before a report is submitted to full council on the 20th of July. That's the extraordinary meeting. Sandwich Town Council, it's clear, would like to establish the Foundation CIO with the 16 members of Sandwich Town Council as the sole trustee to carry out the wishes of Georgina Maddox, who left a legacy of approximately £3 million to the council to be used for the benefit of local community organisations and groups at the council's sole discretion. So I won't read it all verbatim for you, but in summary, the council previously agreed that the purpose of the fund was to support not-for-profit organisations and groups. The information has been shared with 2 organisations to seek their opinions, and the expenditure has been approved using delegated authority. So Girling solicitors are undertaking a review currently, and the cost is between £1,500 and £2,000. And locality have also been approached and undertaking a review of the application with the cost quoted at £600 per day. The work will not exceed 5 days, and therefore the expenditure will not exceed £3,000 for that piece of work. Additionally, the query has been raised with them that the council's holding monies in respect of this legacy, and is the council permitted to make grant awards before the charity is incorporated? F&GP Harris Allday have also written to us with an update following undertaking a review of the Georgina Maddox Fund portfolio, and the letters attached. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Town Clerk. Could I just say, it was discussed at the Town Council meeting that we should approach the Charities Aid Foundation, which we did, and they replied in writing to the Town Clerk saying that they do not offer advice on CIO documentation, but they suggested this company Locality, and Locality seemed very familiar with the requirements, and both Locality and Girlings have been asked to submit their advice by the end of this week, is it?
Yes.
So that it can be incorporated into the report, which will go to Sandwich Town Council a week on Monday. And I've already started drafting that report, which will also give a bit of an update. Any questions on that or any comments?
Sorry, are we employing both of those firms, or the best one?
We're employing both of them at the moment, funded by the Maddox charity, to try and get the best, clearest picture, because none of us are experts in the drafting of these documents.
What if they provide contradictory advice?
Well, we will take that to the Town Council, and the Town Council can make a decision. Interestingly, Locality said, why are you establishing a charity? Why not fold in with Kent Community Foundation? And there is a query gone to Kent Community Foundation, whereby we would basically get this third party to deal with the investment, with the grant awards and everything, obviously for a fee. So a query has been sent to them, and the response to that will hopefully be incorporated in the report as well.
I propose we note and receive the report.
Okay, just before you do, in the letter from Harris Allday, I noticed that a couple of things just to bring to your attention. He said that the Maddox Fund share portfolio of the last quarter, there's been a rise of 11.55%, which I think is worth drawing to your attention. We all know the FTSE has gone up, but it's very positive kind of feedback from Harris Allday. The other point that I wanted just to draw your attention to is that you will remember that following the sale of Bay Hall, we sent them an extra £650,000 for investment. And in their final paragraph, the writer, Richard Cleary, said, "I await your instructions regarding the additional 650,000 you're looking to add to the portfolio, and please get in touch should you wish to discuss any of the aspects." So I think we do need to give them some positive direction as to how to invest that 650,000, whether we give them the discretion to invest it across the portfolio as they see fit at the moment, would be the suggestion.
I would agree.
Okay.
Do you need that voted on?
Yes, please, if that's what you want. I'm going to say, because we can then take that to the council on the 28th of July.
Okay.
If that's...
All right. So having proposed it, seconded. Everybody in favour to note, and you're abstaining. Okay, thank you.
I'm not familiar enough with the portfolio.
Okay,
So sorry, Chair. Who proposed and who seconded?
I propose.
Oh, thank you.
Councillor
And Councillor Wells second.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I thought, okay, it doesn't matter.
Thank you. That's all right.
Second.
Okay, thank you.
Both.
You second.
Thank you.
I'll play with it now. There you go. There you go.
Thank you.
You name them.
Can't quietly go.
Okay, I think as part of the standing agenda items for this meeting is an update from the property manager.
So I think we need to
To
receive and note
the report. Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought we'd done it all as one. But
okay.
That's what I assumed, but if, yeah, is that okay? Yeah.
All right, agenda item number 9, the property manager update. He's prepared a report on Fishergate, on Drill Hall, the Boatman's Chapel, and he's asking us to receive and note the reports. He's asking for agreement to obtain quotations for the legal work to have Fishergate and the chapel registered correctly, because there seems to be some legal anomalies there. He will be bringing these figures back for further discussion and hopefully an agreement at a later date. So, any comments?
I think I did mention it possibly when we talked about assets last time. I did, regards the mounting costs around trying to get the legal documentation right. So let's be very cautious as a council in the sense that we have got limited funds available to finance these extra costs. So rather than necessarily every time something comes through, just say tick, get it done. We do need to track this properly and make sure that we're not running away with spend, because our contingency is 59,300, but we've got the recruitment costs to come out of that. So we do need to be prudent.
And we need to keep operational contingent, minimum operational
2 to 3
contingency, 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
And again, sorry, just to backtrack, but when we start talking about the transfer of assets, we could well have to incur legal costs and so forth on that. And that's what I was kind of intimating, type of thing, that we're properly organised, because it's not just the people, it's the funding to get the work done in a short period of time. But yeah, you know, absolutely agree. But the property manager is saying he's going to come back with details of these at a later date. So I think we should explore it. We should understand the picture and let him present it to us, and then we can make an informed decision. Any other comments on the property report, Town Clerk?
Thank you. I've had a further update from the property manager since this report was shared with you. The property manager said the drill hall, he and the caretaker went and cleared the downpipe and the drain from the property that goes under the pavement and onto the road on the quay. Whilst this was the tenant's responsibility, the tenant was thinking about cutting through the downpipe, and the property manager knew that it was blocked because of the sound it made when he tapped it with his keys. It took them about 40 minutes to sort it all out. And then this was at the front of the property. And whilst it will hamper the damp along the side wall about halfway down on the right when you look at the property, he needs to investigate this further. And his initial thoughts, having gone into the neighbour's garden with their permission, is that the old bricks have become porous. There may well also be the same problem at the front as the downpipe comes down into that general area. So he's going to further investigate that. He has another update on Fishergate as well. The potential funder, Pilgrims Trust, will only pay a maximum of £30,000, and the average is just above £15,000. He is in discussions with the National Lottery Fund, and he's quietly confident that he can meet and cover their strict criteria. The problem is the lack of any match funding, even a small percentage we know we don't have available at the moment. So he has suggested that he could put forward that the Town Council will carry out some of the work ourselves in our own time and unpaid. And then he goes on with a further update with the chapel. There's a lady that visits the chapel, gets water to water her son's grave. And she said it would be wonderful if the chapel could be open to people to sit in there and think of their loved ones. And he said that would be a relatively straightforward project, and maybe we could have apprenticeship trades from local colleges. There could be solar panels for electric and compost toilet public convenience. But he said there would still need to be £10,000 to £12,000 to get the legal situation sorted out. Thank you.
12,000.
£10,000 to £12,000. Yeah,
Wow.
I think that's across. He's talking about not just the chapel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks for that. That's very useful information. Okay. Councillor Wise?
Yeah, the drill hall, I mean, it's a full repairing lease. If the downpipe is full of rubbish, that's the lessee's responsibility. All it needs is a wire
Troweling
over the top of the downpipe. They should be instructed to fit that now that you've carried out this work, which we're not legally responsible for. The thing about Velux windows, I doubt very much that would be permitted because it's within the conservation area. So it's just a point. Boatman's Hill, I'm not clear what this means. We spoke some months ago about the covenant that restricts it to the use of the chapel, and the property manager was going to inquire about that. He says, I've not found any support. What does that mean? That PEC are not responding? Or...
The officer at Dover District is fairly new to the role, and she did say that she has a lot of priorities at the moment. She has acknowledged that she's working on it, but it's not something that's going to be top priority. But we can certainly take that with us to the meeting we have with the leader.
And if we're talking at 10,000 for the, what did you say?
10 to 12,000 for the legal work.
It makes me wonder if we just dispose of this asset because it has no long-term income possibility, does it?
Well, that's a discussion for another day, I think. Okay, so we're happy just to, well, we don't need to vote on a note. He's just he's saying to receive and note the report. We're happy to note it. You want to vote on that?
Yes, so Councillor Chuka first. Who seconds? Sorry, I wasn't looking. Oh, Councillor Wiles, thank you.
Everybody in favour?
Yeah. Okay. And you are happy that he's going to obtain the quotes for legal work?
Yes.
And, yeah.
Yeah,
Wonderful,
bring
thank
back
you.
the full picture, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so let's close this meeting. The date and time of the next meeting is the 17th of September.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's 7:10 p.m. Yeah.
So we're going to roll over into
It's over.
well, it's a rollover.
Rollover, so the-
Hey.
yes.
We could do with about 8.6 million or whatever it is. Do you want to change places, Councillor Black?
No. Well, yeah. Right. Are you ready, Jill?
Yes.
Right, okay. Welcome everyone to the Finance Tollbridge Fund Finance Committee. We've got an agenda here, and today is the 16th. So, first of all, are there any apologies for absence received?
Yes, Chair, thank you. Councillor D. Carter has a work commitment, Councillor P. Carter has a work commitment, and Councillor D. Marie has a work commitment.
Okay. Item 2, do we have any declarations of interest? Right. Item 3, the minutes of the Finance Committee. Any queries, questions, or challenges to them?
Chair, the meeting about the Empire Cinema, we'll discuss that under the property
We-
manager's report, will we? Or
Well, we only had a very brief meeting with the property manager about the Empire Cinema. As I last left it, the tenant had agreed that the fire alarm would be installed and that he would be discussing with the property manager some additional changes for fire safety at his own expense. But I believe the property manager away the whole of this week, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Right, okay, because I think provisionally said we wanted to have a meeting with the tenant this week, but if he's not here, there's no point in that.
No.
So could I ask you to arrange something as soon as
When he's
possible,
back.
please?
Yeah.
Okay. So really, we had a discussion about where we would fund the installation of the fire alarm. And that would be another step on the progress towards making the building exactly as it should be. Okay. The other point I wanted to raise is if we looked at performance of a quilted investment fund, just for an update, we three of us were able to meet yesterday to discuss ways forward to pick up the action there, which was to detail a scope that could be submitted to 2 or 3 investment financial planners to progress the review of investments. We agreed there's a number of actions on the 3 of us to first of all find out who really is a player in this field, because it is rather a specialist niche. We have a fairly small portfolio of about 5 million, and most of the investment fund managers tend to work in much larger sums. But there are a few people, so I've got some contact with people who work either with or our trust or our members of the board of various charities. So I've asked them to come back to me. We're also going to speak to NALC, who may have some information about who might be a suitable person to take me. There's going to be also further discussions with some of the existing providers. Obviously, to my contacts, I have not mentioned the name of our present fund manager, because I think that's a bit unfair. We'll have to wait and see what comes back from there. Okay.
yeah.
John Clark, did you have a comment?
Sorry, no, I was just checking we were still talking about the draft minutes. I didn't know if we...
Yeah, we've sort of, yes.
Yeah, I was just adding information about
Okay,
draft minutes.
Thank you.
Otherwise, are the draft minutes acceptable?
Yeah.
Those, all right.
Sorry, who proposed and who? Oh, sorry. So Councillor Black proposed. Thank you. Councillor Wiles second. Wonderful. Thank you. Everyone's in agreement. Yeah.
Right. The next item on the agenda is the public participation. Have we got any requests for public participation?
No request, Chair.
Thank you. We move on to item 5, which is the payment schedules even. And again, it's similar that to the point that the chair of the previous committee mentioned. We had this meeting with the interim finance officer, and I think we will just ask for your patience for a little while, and that we hope we'll have everything in place for the September meetings and everything firing on all 4 cylinders. Any questions about that? Are we happy then to accept that? I'll propose that we accept that those schedules.
Less of a question.
Any questions about them?
So, sorry, who proposed? Is it?
Yeah, Councillor Black's proposed.
Thank you.
Duke is seconding.
Thank you.
And this is the payment schedules.
Yes.
Yeah.
All of them.
All of them.
Yeah. Okay. And everyone's in support. Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you.
The next item we've got is to receive the Quilter Cheviot report and to examine that. It seems to me that the performance has, which is item attachment 2D, the performance is slightly better than it was at the same period last year, but it's still not wonderful in comparison with people such as the benchmark for charities and obviously for MSCI. So I think there's quite a way to go. The return overall at 5.8% is better than it was last time, but there are still shortages compared to other comparators. I don't think there's much else that we can say at the moment unless anybody else wishes to make a comment.
No. There's no movements, no kind of dividend payments or anything in the month.
So, shall I propose that we receive this report?
Yeah, happy to second.
Yeah, everyone's agreed. Thank you.
Thank you. There, item 6, which is an Empire Cinema update. This is to consider a report from the property manager with a request for agreement for expenditure to progress the change of title. I have to say I was a bit surprised at the price being quoted, but then I'm not an expert on property transfers. It does seem to be recorded slightly unusually. If on the land registry, it's recorded as being the property of DDC, but DDC didn't exist at the time of the entry being made, which does seem a little bit odd, but so be it. Tangler, could I ask, is this an estimate based on what a number of solicitors have quoted, or is this just a quote from one solicitor?
So this is a quote from one solicitor that we use for Bay Hall.
Right. It does seem a lot of money for what I thought was not particularly.
I personally feel that we ought to roll up all of this legal work when we know the full extent as to what needs doing, and to employ, and then it would be in a position where we can put it out to tender. We've already heard figures of 10, 12,000, and there's another 2,000. And whilst I appreciate the division between the town council and the toll bridge fund, I think there's an opportunity, and we do have standing a panel of solicitors for the toll bridge fund. It's my understanding. On our annual report, we list the number of solicitors who are appointed. So maybe we should be looking into those.
That's what you got.
One risk I see in doing that, and I'm not adverse to taking that approach, but the one risk I see is with the creation of the unitary council, the plates could stop spinning at that point, and if a document, for example, says it belongs to the district, and that moves up to the unitary council, there is a risk that we're told, well, actually, it's our name on it, it's got to be ours. Just whether that's a big risk or a small risk, but it is a risk.
Yeah. Well, in terms of the timescales, how long would it take? It's going to take these people a couple of months at least, isn't it?
Oh, you're not going to be running until 2028 is what we were told. So.
This is what we're told, Councillor Anderson.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think Councillor Gray has already offered to take a look. I don't know whether that would be of any use. There's some book somewhere which is full of stuff.
I would urge the council not to pursue. If you take legal advice you're not paying for, you can't rely on it really, because
And
and he's not a practicing
he's not
solicitor.
sure of
Exactly. I would really urge you not to take that approach. I don't think that's.
Well, I just thought he might be able to say,
Does this sound way out of?
30,000, or this would actually not be a huge amount of work.
I think might be a useful question to ask without getting the full legal advice about the situation. Dr. Clark, can I ask, are you aware of any reason why we couldn't merge this into a wider portfolio as has been suggested by Councillor Green?
I think what the property manager is saying to me is he wants to get one of these properties in the right, because that will then lay the groundwork to make the others, once we deal with one, and this one is fairly urgent, because of the situation, then at least then we'll know that the legal approach that has been used for one should be able to be straightforward then and mirrored for others. But I think you're right, it's a substantial amount of money. And I know that the previous town clerk did work before I was here. And I think at that period of time, it was somewhere circa about £30,000 to do all the legal work. That was the quote, I think, that came through at the time. So we are talking about lots of, funds. But the situation is that's why the council's never done anything before, because every administration is faced with the same problem. It's a lot of money to correct things that have, for decades, nobody's, taken grasped the nettle, as they say.
Thank you, Councillor Wiles.
Yeah, I understand this box was found in
Yes.
your office. Has there been any?
Sorry, Councillor Wiles, not my office,
No,
in the RFO's office, yes.
Just a couple of questions. One is, do you think there are any further boxes that have not been looked at? And two, is the property manager developing a kind of physical asset register, which, for each asset will contain all of the relevant documents?
Yes, so that box was found, and that did spring up 2 or 3 documents that had been missing. That was quite exciting to locate them. And basically, they had all been boxed up and sent to a solicitor before the pandemic. That's why they were all together. So solicitors have looked at this previously, and they have said that there are fees, to correct all these things. And that, like I say, that's you're still in that cycle, and until a council administration, agrees that. And I think you're going to be, I'm just speaking personally. I think there is the potential you need to raise the precept more than 5%, because you might have to say to residents, we have these issues, we need to correct them legally. That does, come at a cost. But, it's a complex issue. But I think until you do one and get that successfully transferred into the correct name, it's a bit difficult to. I think this is what the property manager's approach is, to do one, to get that correct. And then hopefully this will lay the groundwork to say that to a solicitor, okay, so that one was done this way, can we please then progress with others?
Okay, as far as the SDBF properties are concerned, they are, I suspect they were in this large bundle that were apparently sent to some solicitors before the pandemic. Does that mean that the solicitor already had a view of it and they might give us a better rate?
I don't know I don't think they give you a better rate. I mean, the fees probably will have increased since then. I mean, I'm talking about now, like 2019, 2020. I mean, Yeah, all I can say is,
It's worth asking the question.
As a Scotsman.
Pardon? Yeah, that's a figure.
So I'm sort of sitting on the fence in the sense that I completely agree with Councillor Breen's view about doing it as a group effort, but I also agree with the fact, why don't we run with this particular request, because actually it's out of the STBF and the governing document clearly says what the first priority is, looking after the assets. And this is an asset and it's a fault. So correcting it and it being paid for out of the STBF to me makes sense if I had to have an argument over which one we might do as a pathfinder.
Okay.
Yeah, I accept. I think, having listened to the discussion, I would waver and agree with the town clerk.
Can I? Thank you. I just have 3 questions in my mind. Firstly, are we aware what the exact legal problems are and what needs to be done? Secondly, I suspect that each of these cases is rather different, so I would like to have some assurance that they can be bundled together. And thirdly, I think we do need to think about timing for the different assets and whether we need to spend money now or whether it might be necessary.
Okay, so I think they're very valid questions. Some of them, of course, are SDC or STBF. Is it the view of this meeting that we should use this as a trailblazer to learn from, and we should obviously seek to get the very best rate, which I'm sure is being done already, but we use this as a trailblazer and find out what the problems really are. This one does seem a bit unusual to be in the name of the organisation that did not exist at the time. Not quite how that happened.
I think my concern, thinking a bit more about it, is that what is this solicitor going to do? And probably in the first instance, they're going to contact Dover District Council. And are they going to get a quick and positive response, or is it going to become protracted and kicked into the long grass by them? I just, it's a risk. You take these people on, they draft a letter, send it off, and they don't get a response. So it's no guarantee that the work will be done.
Well, is this not a case for using our district councillors to ensure that it doesn't get kicked into the long grass? Okay.
But isn't that the reason why the estimated cost of 2,000, just what we've got is a tri-party agreement that needs to be reached, which is with the land registry, which is with us, and it's also with DDC. So there's an amount of drafting, an amount of inquiries. The key thing is STBF, this is an asset within that charity portfolio. It is not correct. Now, we either ignore it and we do what previous administrations have done, which is just ignore the whole problem, and then we won't spend any money. Equally, we might want to bite off something and actually get it sorted for the charity, and that's the key thing.
And learn from the activity.
Yeah, we absolutely have to get this sorted out. It's, I can remember a year or more ago people saying we didn't need to appoint a property manager. I mean, this clearly is a justification for that to some extent we knew nothing and we were ignorant in our bliss of not knowing anything, but now that all these things have been uncovered, we clearly have to sort it out. Otherwise, you can't even begin to manage or dispose of assets unless you can prove you own them in the first place.
Well, I'm happy to propose that we go with it on the proviso we put a cap of £3,000 on the fee, because it says in the region of 2,000, and we all know how legal fees can escalate.
Can I get that's a proposal there? Will anyone wish to second that?
Yes, I second.
You'll second that, then, 100%. All in favour?
Thank you.
Right. Okay, thank you, folks.
We have a party when we actually get ownership.
Even watch a film.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's excellent. And then, Town Clerk, you'll, when the property manager comes back, you'll arrange for this meeting with
Yes.
the tenant.
Yes.
And I'll come along to that.
Yeah.
Right, I think, as far as I'm aware, that is the penultimate item on the agenda. So the next thing and the last thing we've got is item 7, date and time of the next week meeting, Wednesday the 17th, following the STC F&GP.
Yep.
Thank you.
17th of September.
Thank you.
Is that meeting closed? Is it? Yeah.
Meeting is
Yeah.
now closed.
Yeah. Thank you.
Everybody goes.
That's yours.
Well,
That's it.